picture a stadium just packed with 80,000 screaming fans.
Oh, man, yeah. The noise alone is just deafening.
Right, and you are standing right there in the tunnel, looking out at this blinding wash of floodlights.
It's a total sensory overload.
Exactly. And out there, 1 billion people are waiting. I mean, they are watching your every single move on television in like over 100 different countries.
It's just an unfathomable amount of pressure.
It really is, because if you misplace a pass or, if you just stumble, that mistake will be clipped. It's uploaded and trending globally before you even have a chance to jog back to your position.
Yeah, and every pundit on earth will spend the next week dissecting your failure on live TV.
Totally. Now, I want you to imagine you are 19 years old.
Wow, 19.
Yeah, I mean, at 19, you should be worrying about high school exams or passing your driving test.
Or just trying to figure out what you're doing this weekend.
Yeah. Right. But instead, you are carrying the financial hopes of FC Barcelona and the national pride of the entire Spanish football team right on your shoulders.
Which is just, that's heavy for a 30-year-old veteran.
Exactly. So by all biological and psychological metrics, your heart rate should be just hammering against your ribs.
Oh, absolutely. Your palms should be slick with sweat.
Yeah, the cortisol flooding your system should be triggering this massive fight-or-flight panic response.
It's just basic human biology at that point.
And here's the crazy part. Your heart rate hasn't even spiked.
Wait, really? Not at all.
Not at all. You are entirely, almost unnervingly calm.
Which, that practically defies basic neurology, right?
It does. And welcome to today's deep dive, because we are tackling a phenomenon that goes far, far beyond just sports.
Yeah, this is so much bigger than a game.
It really is. Today's mission is to decode this human anomaly, Lamine Yamal.
The 19-year-old soccer phenom.
That's the one. A kid who walks through this modern hurricane of global fame with the serene calmness of, a seasoned emperor.
It's a great way to put it.
So we are pulling insights today from a really fascinating analytical profile. It's titled The Chosen Anomaly, The Mystery of Destiny and the Mentality of Lamine Yamal.
Which is such a compelling read, by the way.
Oh, it's incredible. And look, whether you follow European football religiously or you have never watched a match in your life, you need to hear this.
Absolutely, because the psychological architecture we are going to explore today, it applies to literally anyone trying to navigate a high-pressure environment.
Exactly. So let's just jump right in. Why is this kid such a puzzle?
Well, Lamine Yamal is essentially a living anomaly. We live in an era that is completely obsessed with loud popularity, right?
Oh, yeah. Constant content creation.
Right, and hyper-engineered personal brands. But here is this teenager emerging from a relatively forgotten working-class neighborhood.
With zero elite sporting pedigree, might I add.
Exactly. And he's taking over the most high-stakes sport in the world, and he's doing it in almost total silence.
Which is weird, right? He isn't putting on some manufactured, flashy persona.
No, not at all. He's just quiet.
So how does a kid actually survive that modern pressure cooker? Before we even touch on the larger, metaphysical ideas in the text.
Which get pretty wild later on.
Oh, we will get there. But first, we have to look at the immediate present. The mental armor required just to walk out onto the pitch at Camp Nou or the Santiago Bernabeu without just entirely shattering.
Yeah, we have to start with the inner fortress.
The inner fortress. I love that term.
Right. The profile actually spends a lot of time mapping out this concept. They call it the stoic calm, which is really his defining psychological characteristic.
Okay, let's unpack this stoic calm, because we really need to understand the baseline to grasp how rare it is.
Exactly. We have to understand the noise that usually swallows almost everyone else in his position.
Yeah, let's talk about that modern trap, because we see it everywhere, right? Music, acting, and especially sports.
Oh, it's ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Young talent gets thrust into the spotlight, and they almost instantly get caught in these destructive loops.
Right, the luxury lifestyle just becomes this massive distraction.
Or they get surrounded by these massive entourages of yes men.
Yes. Or they become completely addicted to the dopamine hit of social media validation.
Which, from a biological standpoint, is almost inevitable. A 19-year-old's brain is practically defenseless against those specific traps.
Because of how it's developing, right?
Exactly. The prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that handles, long-term planning and impulse control, it's still years away from being fully developed at 19.
Ah, so they literally don't have the hardware yet to hit the brakes.
Right. Meanwhile, the striatum, which is the reward center of the brain, is hyperactive during those teenage years.
So it's actively looking for those hits.
It is hardwired to seek out social validation. So when you take a brain in that specific developmental stage and you introduce a multi-million-dollar salary
And tens of millions of Instagram followers.
and grown adults treating you like an absolute deity, I mean, the typical neurological response is just massive distortion.
The ego inflates to protect the psyche, I guess.
Exactly. And the sense of reality completely warps. Essentially, fame distorts the core identity.
But we aren't seeing that distortion here at all.
No, we really are.
We are seeing a frequency of mental stability that you normally only find in seasoned veterans. I mean, I'm talking about athletes in their late 30s.
Yeah, the guys who have been through a decade of media scrutiny.
Right. Guys who have failed on the big stage, gone to years of sports therapy, and just slowly built up a callus over time.
But Yamal seems to have walked onto the pitch with that callus already fully formed.
Which is just wild, and it really forces us to ask this difficult question. Is this level of composure just the result of, really rigorous behind-the-scenes sports psychology?
Or is it something innate? Because, look, physical tactics can be drilled.
Sure, you can teach a player how to curl a ball into the top corner.
Right. But bypassing the natural human panic response to global surveillance, that isn't something you learn in a standard Tuesday morning training session.
Yeah, I actually read this part of the analysis a few times because the distinction the author makes is so critical.
It's a really fine line they draw.
It is. It frames this stoic calm not as ignorance. It's not that he is totally oblivious to the fact that a billion people are watching him.
Right, he isn't walking around in a naive daze thinking it's just a pickup game.
Exactly. The text describes it as an active, deliberate filtering of the noise.
Because ignorance is a very fragile shield.
Wait, how so?
Well, think about it. If a player is calm simply because they haven't realized the magnitude of the moment, the second someone taps them on the shoulder and reminds them that, hey, the entire season depends on this one penalty kick.
Oh, they shatter. The illusion breaks.
Exactly. Yamal's calm is durable specifically because it is a filtering mechanism. I mean, he sees the luxury, he hears the roaring crowd, he is aware of the social media metrics.
So he just ignores it.
More than ignores it. His cognitive process categorizes all of that external stimuli as entirely irrelevant to the geometry of the football pitch.
Okay, I have an analogy for this. It's like the noise-canceling headphones for the soul concept.
Oh, I like that. Explain that.
Well, think about how actual noise-canceling headphones work. They don't just put a thick piece of plastic over your ear to block sound out passively.
Right, they have a microphone.
Exactly. They actively listen to the chaotic frequencies in the environment, and then they generate an inverse wave to neutralize that noise before it hits your eardrum.
So it's an active, continuous process.
Yes, and Yamal's brain seems to be generating an inverse wave to the crushing pressure of global football.
And that active neutralization is the foundational prerequisite for everything Messi achieves.
Meaning, without it, the talent doesn't matter.
Precisely. If that inner fortress doesn't hold, the physical talent is irrelevant. I mean, we have seen countless prodigies with the same, or maybe even greater, raw physical talent than Yamal.
Oh, for sure. The sport is littered with them.
But their internal audio feed was flooded with the noise of expectations, and their careers just collapsed under the weight of it.
But where does a teenager actually get the hardware for those psychological noise-canceling headphones?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because, as the source points out, this isn't the product of some high-tech, elite sports lab in Geneva.
No, it's not.
And it isn't the result of a billionaire family curating his mindset from birth, either.
When you look at his actual origins, the secret to this impenetrable calm comes from a surprisingly unremarkable place.
Yeah. The text argues that it actually comes from the profound power of being a nobody.
Which is such a counterintuitive idea in today's world.
It really is. So let's dig into his roots a bit. He comes from Mataró, specifically this neighborhood called Rocafonda.
Yeah, which is a working-class, multicultural area in Catalonia.
It's a place built on immigration and daily labor, not generational wealth or elite status.
He definitely didn't emerge from a royal sporting bloodline.
Right. There was no massive family dynasty pulling political strings at FC Barcelona to get him a trial.
And in the current ecosystem of global sports, that kind of organic origin story is becoming exceptionally rare.
Because everything is so manufactured now.
Exactly. We are living in the era of the hyper-engineered prodigy. You have parents who hire private tacticians, nutritionists, and sprint coaches for their children when they are like 6 years old.
6 years old? That's insane.
It is. They are curating their child's personal brand, managing their digital footprint, and basically treating them like a blue chip stock investment before the kid even hits puberty.
And the crazy thing is, society generally views that hyper-engineering as the ultimate advantage.
Of course, it looks like a massive head start.
Right. People think, oh, if you have a famous athlete for a parent, you have a golden ticket. You have the wealth, the connections, the insider knowledge of how the industry works.
But the text makes a brilliant pivot here. It argues that in the true crucible of elite performance, that supposed advantage often acts as a heavy chain.
A heavy chain because of the pressure.
Yes, coming from a normal, non-famous family is actually Yamal's greatest psychological protector. It acts as a shield of normalcy.
Because he doesn't have a dynasty to uphold.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that a lack of legacy is essentially his superpower.
I think about the sons of legendary athletes who try to follow in their father's footsteps. The psychological load is just immense before they even step onto a field.
Oh, it has to be exhausting. Every coach, every journalist, every fan in the stands is comparing them to a ghost.
Right. You aren't just trying to learn how to play a game, you are carrying the burden of a historical brand.
It's an invisible tax on your mental energy. You are constantly measuring your own worth against this towering historical figure.
So because Yamal doesn't have that, he gets this incredible amount of mental freedom.
He is a blank slate. He only owes himself.
Let's think about the daily mechanics of that for a second. When a hyper-engineered prodigy has a bad game, they go home to a management team masquerading as parents.
Ouch. But it's true. The failure's analyzed, the brand takes a hit, the tension in the house is just palpable.
Right. But when Yamal goes home, he goes back to a family that just views him as a son.
The dopamine and cortisol systems get a hard reset because in his living room, the stadium doesn't exist.
And that environment grounds him in a way that millions of dollars in cutting-edge sports therapy simply cannot replicate.
Because his internal walls aren't built on the fragile, shifting expectations of a legacy. They are built on a solid, unpretentious foundation.
And having that unpretentious foundation, it fundamentally alters how he views the game itself, doesn't it?
It completely changes his lens on reality.
Because if you aren't carrying the ghost of a famous dynasty and your brain isn't completely hijacked by the need for social media fame, what does an 80,000-seat stadium actually look like to you?
Well, the analysis makes a brilliant observation here. It says he doesn't see it as a coliseum. He sees it as a natural playground.
A natural playground. That is such a crucial psychological distinction.
It really is, because for the vast majority of athletes, as the stakes get higher, the physical environment literally mutates in their mind.
Mutates how?
Well, a local park with chain link fences is a playground. You can try new things, you can fail, you can just have fun.
Right, there's no real consequence.
But a stadium with 1 billion people watching, that is a high-stakes battleground. It is a place of severe, unforgiving judgment. The brain categorizes it as a threat environment.
But the geometry of the pitch doesn't actually change.
Not at all. It's still exactly 105 meters long by 68 meters wide.
Like the grass is just grass. The ball is exactly the same size.
Exactly. Yamal's brain doesn't register the extra 80,000 screaming people as a variable that changes the physics of the game.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Maintaining that perspective requires an incredibly delicate psychological balance.
It does. A very specific equilibrium.
Right, because the source says he operates in a state where he never feels bigger than the game, but crucially, he never feels smaller than the challenge.
And that is so hard to achieve.
I want to use an analogy here. Think of a perfectly balanced seesaw.
Okay, with you.
On one side of the seesaw, you have the trap of ego. This is feeling bigger than the game.
Which happens a lot with young stars.
Oh, all the time. An athlete starts believing their own hype, they listen to the media calling them a generational talent, and they stop respecting the fundamentals.
Arrogance leads directly to sloppiness. Your brain stops processing the reality of the opponent because you've convinced yourself you're operating on a higher plane. You stop tracking back on defense, you try these overly complicated tricks in dangerous areas.
Right, the ego side of the seesaw crashes to the ground. But then you have the other side, imposter syndrome.
Feeling smaller than the challenge.
Exactly. You step out onto the pitch at the Santiago Bernabeu, you look across the field at players who have won multiple Champions League titles, and your brain just screams, I am just a kid from Mataró, I don't belong here.
And fear leads to hesitation.
And in a sport where the margin for error is measured in milliseconds, hesitation is deadly.
Yeah, hesitation means you get tackled by a 200-pound defender. Fear paralyzes the very instincts that got you there in the first place.
So Yamal rests perfectly on the fulcrum of this seesaw. He respects the game enough to avoid arrogance.
Right, he puts in the defensive work, he makes the simple passes when necessary.
But he respects his own ability enough to avoid fear. He will happily take on a world-class defender one-on-one if the opportunity is there.
It's a definition of cognitive flow. He is balancing high arousal, which is the energy of the stadium, with an incredibly high skill level,
resulting in total presence.
Exactly. He isn't analyzing his past mistakes, and he isn't projecting into the future to worry about the headlines tomorrow. He is simply processing the visual data of the pitch in real time.
Wow. Okay, up to this point, we've been dealing in very grounded, observable realities.
Very analytical.
Right. We've looked at neurology, family dynamics, the socioeconomics of his upbringing, and cognitive flow states. It's a highly logical explanation for why he functions so well.
But the analysis we are exploring today doesn't stop at the edge of science, does it?
No, it does not. It steps right over the line into something deeply, deeply mysterious.
It moves from sports psychology into the metaphysics of destiny.
Yeah, this is where things get genuinely strange. The profile starts examining the impossible coincidences surrounding his rise.
And we absolutely have to mention the most glaring one.
Oh, the photo shoot. We have to talk about the photo shoot.
Right. So recently, these photos surfaced from a charity calendar photo shoot from 2007.
2007. Just keep that year in mind.
And it features a 20-year-old Lionel Messi, who is the undisputed greatest player in the history of Barcelona and arguably the world holding and bathing an infant.
And that infant, randomly selected from a local neighborhood for this charity shoot, was Lamine Yamal.
It's unbelievable. For an analytical mind, it's instinctual to dismiss that as a bizarre statistical anomaly,
It's
right?
just a crazy piece of trivia.
But when a young talent happens to walk in the exact footsteps of a giant, crossing paths in a way that feels pre-written, it really forces a conversation about the nature of narrative.
The text actually describes it as the universe literally passing him the baton.
Which is a beautiful image.
It is. But look, I have to push back on this a little bit to invite some deeper exploration here.
Play devil's advocate. Go for it.
Because this screams of survivor's bias to me. We are only looking at this photo and calling it destiny because Yamal happened to become a superstar.
Right.
What if Messi bathed a different baby and that kid grew up to be an accountant? We wouldn't be talking about the divine script of the accountant. We tend to romanticize the winners in hindsight.
That is the standard rationalist critique, and honestly, it is entirely valid.
But the text has an answer for this, doesn't it?
It does. This raises an important question, because the framework being presented isn't necessarily arguing that the photograph imbued him with magical footballing powers.
Right. It wasn't a radioactive spider bite.
Exactly. It's using the coincidence to explore a much deeper philosophical concept regarding how greatness is distributed in the world.
Okay, I'm listening. Walk me through the mechanics of that.
Consider the elite academy he came through, La Masia. It is the most ruthless, talent-dense football academy on earth.
Thousands of prodigies pass through those doors.
Exactly. And many of them come from normal families. Many of them have incredible physical gifts. So out of all those thousands of iterations, why does this specific kid rise to the absolute pinnacle at 19?
Right. Why him?
The text unpacks this profound answer. Destiny, or whatever grand organizing principle of the universe you want to substitute that word for, always seeks out the calmest vessel.
The calmest vessel. Wow. That flips the traditional narrative of success completely upside down.
It really does. Our modern culture demands that we view success as something to be conquered.
We visualize greatness as an act of aggression.
Right. The athletes screaming in the locker room, beating their chest. The CEO working 100-hour weeks, just dominating the boardroom. We constantly equate ambition with volume.
We assume the person who wants it the most has to be the loudest person in the room.
Exactly. But this metaphysical framework suggests that universal greatness isn't something you conquer. It is something that is poured into you.
Poured into you, like a liquid.
Yes. Imagine greatness or massive global responsibility as a highly volatile liquid under immense pressure.
Okay.
You cannot pour that liquid into a vessel that is vibrating with anxiety. You cannot pour it into a container that is cracked by ego or weakened by a constant need for external validation.
Because the physics of that interaction are catastrophic.
It would shatter.
If you try to pour a high-pressure fire hose of global expectations into a paper cup, the cup disintegrates instantly. The vessel has to be structurally sound enough to contain the energy.
Therefore, his calm isn't just a convenient byproduct of his success.
The calm didn't arrive after he became a star.
Exactly. The calm is the very reason he was chosen for this role.
Oh, wow.
The universe, scanning through the thousands of talented kids at La Masia, bypassed the loud ones, the anxious ones, the ones desperate for attention.
And found a 19-year-old whose mind was entirely still.
It's the concept of the lock and the key. The opportunity is massive, but it requires a very specific psychological architecture to turn the lock without the key snapping off in the mechanism.
That echoes so many ancient wisdom traditions, the idea of the still water reflecting the sky.
A turbulent mind distorts reality, but a calm mind can hold the weight of a generation's expectations without boiling over.
So in this context, his working-class background wasn't an obstacle he had to overcome to achieve greatness.
Not at all.
It was the specific manufacturing environment required to forge a vessel strong enough to hold the weight of being the face of global football.
And that idea of the manufacturing environment is physically anchored in the way he presents himself to the world.
The analysis doesn't leave this concept floating in the ether, does it?
No, it tethers it to a very specific, literal geography.
Let's decode the 304, because this is one of the most visible aspects of his persona.
Yeah, it's everywhere now.
Right. When he scores a goal on the world stage, he celebrates by crossing his arms and forming the numbers 3, 0, and 4 with his fingers.
And 304 is simply the postal code for Rocafonda, his neighborhood in Mataró.
Now, on a surface level, that just looks like standard athlete branding, right? Representing your hometown.
That's very common in sports.
But when viewed through the lens of this psychological profile, the text elevates it to a profound metaphysical symbol. That postal code becomes a profound grounding mechanism.
It is his psychological tether to reality.
Let's use the mechanics of deep-sea diving to visualize this for a second.
Yeah, I like where this is going.
When an athlete achieves this level of fame, they are essentially diving into the Mariana Trench of public scrutiny.
The pressure down there is literally crushing.
It is. It is an entirely alien environment where the normal rules of human interaction do not apply. Everyone wants something from you.
Right. If you dive down there without a tether, without a direct oxygen line to the surface, you will lose your sense of up and down. You will get the psychological bends.
And the 304 is the oxygen line.
It is the line connecting him back to the surface. So what does this all mean? Every time he flashes that number to the cameras, he is manually checking the tether.
He is reminding his own brain, I am not a deity floating in the stadium floodlights. I am a kid from this specific street, in this specific postal code.
There is a wisdom tradition cited in the text about this.
Yes. The idea that a person who remembers to respect their origins, staying deeply rooted in their homeland while their head touches the sky, will be granted universal protection.
I want to connect this back to you, the listener, because there's a powerful analogy here. Think of a massive oak tree. You can only grow branches high enough to touch the sky if your roots are gripping the dirt you came from.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the 304 postal code isn't just a number, it's the anchor that keeps the balloon from flying away into the chaotic stratosphere of fame. By remembering his origins, by keeping the culture, the people, and the physical reality of Rocafonda at the forefront of his mind, he is granting himself protection from the toxicity of fame.
It's a radical act of preservation in a society that constantly pushes us toward rootlessness.
That is a phenomenal point. Modern society practically demands that we sever our roots if we want to be successful.
The narrative is always about escaping. Escaping your hometown, leaving behind the people who don't fit your new status.
Right. Moving to a hyper-expensive city and curating a polished, globalized avatar of yourself on the internet.
We are encouraged to become digital tumbleweeds, just blowing wherever the algorithm takes us.
But an avatar has no structural integrity.
None. A curated persona cannot withstand a crisis because there is absolutely nothing solid beneath it.
When the media turns against you or when you suffer a massive public failure, an avatar simply collapses.
Because there is no bedrock.
But when Yamal walks into a stadium with 1 billion people watching, he isn't walking in as a globalized brand avatar.
Mentally, his feet are firmly planted on the pavement of Rocafonda.
And because that pavement is solid, he is solid.
He could reach the absolute heights of global stardom because his center of gravity remains securely fastened to his working-class neighborhood.
It is the perfect synthesis. The normal, unburdened background combined with the stoic filtering of modern noise, held together by a deep, respectful tether to his origins.
That is how you build a vessel capable of holding the world's attention without fracturing.
Which really brings us to the ultimate conclusion of this profile. The author distills Yamal's entire trajectory into what they call the Titans lesson.
The Titans lesson. The intersection of pure, relentless preparation and the script of destiny.
Because we cannot ignore the physical reality here. Destiny did not just hand him a starting spot at Barcelona simply because he was calm.
Oh, definitely not. He had to execute. He had to put in the thousands of hours of grueling physical and tactical training.
The inner fortress had to be built brick by brick through daily discipline.
Yamal's story proves that preparation alone isn't enough to conquer the world, and destiny alone is useless without the skills to execute it.
But when relentless human effort meets a pre-written opportunity, there is absolutely no door that cannot be opened. The resulting explosion of potential is unstoppable.
But the profile doesn't end by simply marveling at an elite athlete, which I think is the most important part.
It turns the focus directly onto the listener, right?
It does. It reminds us that you don't need a big name backing you to shake the world. It shifts the question from how incredible is Lamine Yamal to a much more uncomfortable inquiry.
How ready are you to keep your calm when the world starts shouting your name?
Exactly. When the stakes of your own life are raised.
This is where it hits home for anyone listening. You don't need to be playing in a Champions League final for this to matter.
The universe or your career or your community will eventually pass you a baton.
An opportunity for significant responsibility or leadership will present itself.
And the question is, are you a vessel that will shatter? Have you spent your time building an inner fortress, learning how to filter out the noise of social media and ego?
Or are you addicted to external validation?
Are you tethered to your own 304, your true origins and values? Or are you a rootless avatar blowing in the wind of whatever trend is currently popular?
If the opportunity of a lifetime falls into your lap tomorrow, will your hands be shaking too violently to hold it?
It demands a brutal audit of our own mental architecture.
We spend so much time trying to engineer opportunities, trying to hustle our way into the spotlight, but we spend almost zero time reinforcing the vessel that has to survive that spotlight.
We prioritize the acquisition of success over the capacity to sustain it.
Which leaves me with a final provocative thought to mull over.
What is your takeaway here?
Building purely on this concept of the calm vessel, if greatness and profound opportunity truly seek out the quietest, most stable containers, how much potential are we missing out on every single day?
Oh, that's a heavy question.
Look at the modern world. Our minds are subjected to a constant, deafening roar of notifications, outrage algorithms, and status anxiety.
We exist in a state of perpetual psychological turbulence.
Right. And if destiny operates like a liquid that can only be poured into still water, then our collective turbulence is actively repelling greatness.
We're practically vibrating with distraction.
Exactly. In a culture that has monetized our anxiety and convinced us that we have to scream to be noticed, maybe the ultimate form of rebellion isn't being louder than everyone else.
Maybe the most radical thing you can do to prepare for your own destiny is simply to be quiet enough to receive it.
A powerful reminder that sometimes the hardest work isn't the hustle, it's the stillness.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of calm and the mystery of Lamine Yamal. We hope this exploration leaves you feeling a little more grounded and perhaps inspires you to reinforce your own inner fortress. We will catch you on the next deep dive.